Welcome to the action. Get ready for a massive showdown because we start with Rudy Gobert and Victor Wembanyama. We dive into the incredible history between these two titans as we look at the intense West semifinal matchup between the San Antonio Spurs and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Find out how this matchup pits the superstar center against the rising phenomenon and what this means for the NBA's future.
Here's a simple way to protect your phone without stress. This ALEN 3-pack comes with tempered glass screen protectors, camera lens protectors, and an installation frame for an easier, cleaner fit. It's clear, case-friendly, and built to help guard against scratches and everyday bumps. Check the link in the comments to get it on Amazon.
Next up, we are tracking the intense playoff battle between the San Antonio Spurs and the Minnesota Timberwolves. We break down the stakes of this Western Conference Semifinal series, examining how the Spurs are fighting for their first trip to the conference finals since 2017 against the Timberwolves, who are pushing for the finals for the third straight season. We look at the crucial matchups and the history between these two teams. Now, we turn our attention to the deeper dynamics of this rivalry. We explore the incredible head-to-head history between Victor Wembanyama and Rudy Gobert, highlighting the specific statistics and moments that define their clashes in the regular season. Discover why this one-on-one element is so captivating for every basketball fan watching this intense series unfold. And finally, we look ahead to the ticket frenzy surrounding this monumental clash. We cover everything you need to know about getting tickets for the San Antonio Spurs versus the Minnesota Timberwolves, including current prices and where to buy them for Game 1. Don't miss a second of this action, so stick with us for the rest of the broadcast. Rudy Gobert is keenly anticipating a high-stakes matchup as the San Antonio Spurs and the Minnesota Timberwolves clash in the Western Conference Semifinals, a contest that will feature the prodigious Victor Wembanyama. Gobert has long recognized Wembanyama's immense potential, recalling when the young French center posed questions that Gobert answered, stating, "And the rest is history." Wembanyama is set to compete for a spot in the NBA Finals, with the outcome of this series determining his path to the Final Four. Gobert expressed deep pride, noting that Wembanyama possesses a unique soul and mind, confirming his success is not accidental. The rivalry between the two stars is central to the series, though not every game will be a direct one-on-one confrontation. The dynamic was highlighted years ago by a viral video showcasing Wembanyama's early dominance over Gobert. Despite being an MVP finalist and Defensive Player of the Year, Wembanyama continues to seek guidance, even asking Gobert for advice on personal matters, underscoring his thirst for knowledge. Wembanyama also emphasized his role as a role model, stressing the importance of body care for other big men. The stakes are high for both teams. The Timberwolves are seeking their third consecutive trip to the Western Conference Finals, having recently overcome a tough challenge against the third-seeded Denver team. The Spurs, meanwhile, are aiming for their first Western Conference appearance since 2017. Coaches have offered contrasting perspectives on the matchup. Spurs coach Mitch Johnson emphasized the physical nature of the Timberwolves, stating, "They guard, they're physical. They try to impose that will and impose their will and their competitiveness on you." Conversely, Timberwolves coach Chris Finch suggested the series will hinge on interior play, noting, "It's going to be decisions that you make in the paint. It's going to come down to them." Historically, the head-to-head record between the two centers is evenly split, with Gobert's teams leading 6-2 in past matchups, while Wembanyama has scored 20 or more points in 5 of those meetings. The Spurs are heavily favored in the series, with odds makers pricing them at -2,000. The Timberwolves enter the series as underdogs at +950. This contest marks the 19th time in the current playoff format, since 1984, that a number 6 seed has faced a number 2 seed in the conference playoffs. In other playoff news, the Minnesota Wild are also in contention, with potential games scheduled over the next 11 days. The Wild are currently battling the Colorado Avalanche in the Western Conference Semifinals. If both series reach 6 games, the Timberwolves and Wild would both be playing at home on May 15 for the decisive Game 6s. Victor Wembanyama is set to face Rudy Gobert in a high-stakes Western Conference semifinal matchup between the San Antonio Spurs and the Minnesota Timberwolves, with Game 1 scheduled for Monday night in San Antonio. The rivalry between the two players, who have met 8 times in the regular season, is set to define this series, with Gobert and Wembanyama sharing a history rooted in Gobert recognizing Wembanyama's immense potential when he was just 13. The basketball world is keenly watching as the French center heads to the NBA Final Four in a couple of weeks, with the outcome of this series determining his path. Gobert expressed immense pride in Wembanyama's development, noting his unique soul and mindset as key to his success. Fans recall the attention shift following a video clip 6 years ago featuring Wembanyama and Gobert, highlighting their dynamic. Wembanyama, now a Defensive Player of the Year and MVP finalist, continues to seek guidance from Gobert, even asking about personal details like water filters, underscoring his thirst for knowledge. The stakes are high as the Timberwolves aim for the Western Conference Finals for the 3rd consecutive season, while the Spurs seek their first trip there since 2017. The Timberwolves have shown resilience, defeating the 3rd-seeded Denver despite injuries to key players like Dante DiVincenzo and Anthony Edwards. Coaches anticipate a physical battle, with the Spurs coach Mitch Johnson emphasizing the Timberwolves' physical nature and competitiveness. Minnesota's recent 2-1 series win against San Antonio was partly fueled by the strong performance of Anthony Edwards. Historically, the Spurs are heavy favorites in this matchup, with oddsmakers pricing them at -2,000, while the Timberwolves are listed at +950. This contest represents the 19th instance in the 1984 playoff format, where a number 6 seed meets a number 2 seed in the conference playoffs, with a history of upsets in such encounters. Beyond the semifinal, playoff scheduling remains fluid, with potential Timberwolves or Minnesota Wild games occurring on 10 of the next 11 days, depending on the outcome of other series. Noi Dung Kai tight. Rudy Gobert and Victor Wembanyama are set to clash in a high-stakes Western Conference semifinal matchup between the San Antonio Spurs and the Minnesota Timberwolves, with the outcome determining which team advances to the NBA Finals. The series kicks off with Game 1 on Monday night in San Antonio. And the dynamic between the two players has been a focal point of the NBA conversation for years. Gobert has long recognized Wembanyama's immense potential, noting that Wembanyama asked the questions and Gobert provided the answers, cementing a deep, foundational relationship. /N, and the rest is history, Gobert stated, reflecting on their connection. He expressed immense pride and excitement watching Wembanyama's development, emphasizing that beyond his talent, Wembanyama possesses a unique soul and mindset, attributing his success to genuine effort. /N, the rivalry is further highlighted by a viral video from 6 years ago featuring a 2-on-2 game between the two, showcasing Wembanyama's early dominance. /N despite Wembanyama's emergence as a Defensive Player of the Year and MVP finalist. He continues to seek counsel from Gobert, even asking about personal details like water filters, underscoring his thirst for knowledge. Wembanyama has also positioned Gobert as a role model, advocating for him to inspire others in physical well-being. And the stakes are high as Minnesota seeks a 3rd consecutive trip to the Western Conference Finals, while the Spurs aim for their first appearance since 2017. The Timberwolves have navigated tough hurdles, defeating the 3rd-seeded Denver team in round 1 despite key injuries to Dante DiVincenzo and Anthony Edwards. /N coaching perspectives highlight the matchup's nature. Spurs coach Mitch Johnson noted that the Timberwolves are physical and competitive, relying on imposing their will. Timberwolves coach Chris Finch suggested the series will hinge on crucial decisions made in the paint. /N historically, the head-to-head matchup is closely contested. Gobert's teams lead 6-2 in their previous 8 regular season encounters, while Wembanyama has scored 20 or more points in 5 of those meetings. /N odds heavily favor the Spurs, with oddsmakers pricing them at -2,000, suggesting a significant potential payout for bettors. Conversely, the Timberwolves are listed at plus 950. /N/N, this particular playoff format, pitting a number 6 seed against a number 2 seed in the conference playoffs, has occurred 19 times since 1984, with a notable history of upsets in these matchups. /N/N separately, playoff scheduling remains fluid, with the Minnesota Wild potentially facing a Timberwolves game or a Wild game in the Stanley Cup playoffs over the next 11 days, depending on the outcome of their respective Western Conference Semifinal series. The NBA Western Conference Semifinals are set to begin, featuring a high-stakes clash between the San Antonio Spurs and the Minnesota Timberwolves. The series kicks off on Monday, May 4, 2026, at the Frost Bank Center for Game 1. The matchup pits the 2-seed Spurs against the 6-seed Timberwolves in a contest defined by contrasting postseason narratives. The Spurs enter this series riding a dominant run, having dispatched the Portland Trail Blazers in 5 games thanks to a strong postseason debut from Victor Wembanyama. Conversely, the Timberwolves have navigated a challenging path, securing a first-round upset against the defending champions, the Denver Nuggets, but they enter this series significantly short-handed, missing key guards and needing to demonstrate their depth against the Spurs' formidable presence. Ticket demand for the San Antonio Spurs has surged, reaching a decade-high level as the team returns to the second round for the first time since 2017. While ticket pricing for the Spurs games remains more accessible compared to major markets like New York or Los Angeles, premium seating is moving quickly. Factors influencing ticket costs are tied to recent performance metrics. Analyzing recent matchups, the Spurs have demonstrated strong offensive output, evidenced by a recent scoring average of 114 points, contrasting with the Timberwolves' recent performance, which shows a scoring average of 104 points in their last recorded match. Fans looking to secure tickets for Game 1 and subsequent matchups are advised to consult current market pricing and purchasing options for the series.